everyone. Welcome to Film Talk, a podcast where two gals talk everything film, television, and everything in between the reels. I'm your host, Dianne Melendez, critic and head of marketing here at FullCircleCinema.com, and I'm joined today, as usual, by my lovely co-host, Josie Melendez. And today, today we're going to talk about some cinema. I mean, what's new? But we're going to talk about some cinema for the Goyles as well. Another Netflix flick that came out, because the last flick we talked about was Malcolm and Marie. So Netflix dropped its latest film, I Care a Lot, starring Rosammund Pike and Peter Dinklage, and this is a little bit of a anticipated film. As soon as the trailer came out, we were all over it, because it is definitely just clear, cut and dry, another entry into the good for her universe. So we're really excited to talk about it. It has quite a few varying opinions. I don't know if people are loving it as much as we did. It does have its ups and downs, but I think at its core, it's a solid film, because as soon as Netflix announced a new film every Friday for like the whole year, one can speculate that the quality over quantity was not really taken into consideration here. But so far, they've had some pretty good hits. They haven't been films that have been absolute misses by any means. Like, what was it that came out last week? To All the Boys I Loved Before. To All the Boys 3. I always get, it's a long title, so I always get it confused. But To All the Boys 3 concluded last week. That was good. This week we have I Care a Lot. So Netflix is definitely trying to compete in this, ever expanding streaming platform market. But yeah, I Care a Lot. We're staying on track here. So for those of you that do not know, I Care a Lot, I'm going to read the synopsis because I'm professional. I Care a Lot is about a shady legal guardian lands in hot water when she tries to bilk a woman who has ties to a powerful gangster. Now, that's putting it really simply.
Yeah.
This is a little bit more complicated than that, but in essence, Rosammund Pike is another cool girl, sort of I wouldn't say psychopath or sociopath, though it's very easy to put that kind of label on her, on this type of character, but she's definitely an evil girl. Like she's a bad girl in doing crime, basically. But the really fun part of it is that she's doing a lot of these things legally. So it's definitely a very clear commentary on how this is very clear. This is definitely a commentary on how unjust the justice system is in the United States. Mm-hmm. It has a lot of moments where it's a direct, not so much attack, but presentation of things that happen in the system and how it just continually treats people, especially older people, as just, they even say in the movie, as just cash cows, or just beings that have to be put away in a home or something. It dehumanizes them. So yeah, it's definitely a movie that makes you think, but at the same time, it's not one of those existential crisis movies. It's actually a really fun watch. One would think, the trailers kind of give off this vibe that the movie's going to be this super high octane adventure, super fast paced, very quick-witted movie, which it does start out as, but don't go in expecting this like I did. Don't expect it to be that fast paced adventure throughout the whole film. It does take time to breathe and have its moments to focus on the characters. And at first, I was a little iffy on it. Josie loved it all the way through and through. I was a little bit, back and forth halfway through. But if it had not ended the way that it ended, so I'm trying to avoid spoilers for the first half of this, I definitely would not have liked it as I do now, because it definitely wrapped up very nicely and just... yeah, it's kind of difficult to talk about without spoiling it, but overall, if you don't want spoilers and are interested in seeing this, The casting, fabulous. The Eiza Gonzalez, Rosammund Pike, Peter Dinklage, like this whole cast is fantastic, phenomenal. It's a very dark comedy, but it's definitely like it has a lot of gasp-worthy moments. Like you think it's gonna be predictable. You think it has so many tropes that it could have easily just fallen into and not have been as exciting as it was, and it just turned them on its head and really kept you guessing throughout the film.
Yeah, definitely. And just like 3 words I used to describe it is haunting, delicious, and beautiful. Because even though like the story itself is not what I refer to as beautiful, it's just simply that J Blakeson managed to capture such beautiful shots despite the dark themes of the film. And just I think so that we can move into spoiler territory. If you'd like to know more about this film without getting spoiled, we do have a review up on Full Circle Cinema.
Links down below. Yeah, so we're gonna dive into it. J Blakeson, honestly, he wrote the movie as well. He wrote the screenplay.
Yes.
So he wrote and directed. I'm very impressed. I don't know his prior work. I don't know if you've heard of his prior work.
Yes. So there's one. There's like his debut film, and then the one I know the most about is, of course, The Fifth Wave, which is the blockbuster adaptation of Rick Yancey's novel.
Yeah.
Which I liked it because I liked the book.
It's fun. Yeah, he doesn't have anything that's super of note in terms of popularity, so this is definitely like his more mainstream debut aside from Fifth Wave. But I'm really impressed. Like, I really liked how... Okay, I'm going to get into Edgar Wright territory here. I liked how it gave me what I've been craving. Like, I've been craving that Edgar Wright kind of Baby Driver vibe for a hot minute, and it gave me those vibes without being a ripoff of Edgar Wright. And I think it did so really, really spectacularly. You dive into this movie straight away with Marla Grayson, Rosammund Pike's character. You dive in straight away with her narration, and it does seem the writing is a little bit on the nose in the beginning. It's a little bit, it's hard to explain. Like you kind of have to watch it to understand. But the writing, the dialogue from the narration points do feel a little bit on the nose, but they get the job done. That you don't have to be super pretentious about these things. And it didn't, of course, Rosammund Pike's delivery made it feel not cringe at all. It was honestly just beautiful, very sophisticated, very elegant. And also, it's one of those movies where the story gets messy. The story gets so messy, yet the delivery doesn't. So, because it could have very easily lost itself in all of its like twists and turns. But it definitely kept itself grounded throughout the movie. There was a very clear vision. Even if you couldn't tell how it was going to end, there was a very clear vision of where they wanted to go, more or less.
Yeah.
Yeah, I really loved it.
Yeah, because there was only really one ending that it could have. The question was how and when. Because it kept kind of beating around the bush. And, yeah, there are various moments where you think it's going to end the way it's going to end, but it never does. And like the film keeps going through that path where usually it doesn't work out when a film, you're watching it and you're like, oh, is it over? And then it doesn't end. But with this one, I didn't mind just because it raised the stakes for how effective that ending could be. I think if they had ended it a little bit earlier, it wouldn't have had the impact that it did.
Oh, absolutely. And what since we're in spoiler territory, what really helped it along was having that there's this water scene where you think the main character is going to die. Like you see this, first of all, you dive straight in, you hate this woman. This woman is awful. She is a despicable human being, but you can't help but not necessarily root for her. You don't end up rooting for her necessarily, but you do end up just gravitating towards her energy. And just Rosammund Pike, again, bringing this energy to the screen and keeping your eyes locked and your attention cannot be dragged away from this movie. And though you despise her, you cannot help but see, you can't help but wanting to see where she's gonna go. How far is she willing to go for this? Because she's not like, and I really liked this part, she is not like secretly, this John Wick character or anything. She's not like a secret spy or a secret mafia or anything. She doesn't even shoot a gun or anything. She can barely defend herself physically, yet she uses like her cold, calculated wit and her intelligence to survive throughout this whole movie. And she even says it herself, like her drive is just greed. It's money, and she wants to use money as her weapon. She wants to be able to bludgeon people, or just bludgeon in general, which is really dark, because it's definitely a really, really harsh reality that we live in, where that, quote unquote American dream is just that drive for greed and for amassing wealth just to amass power. And this character knows that 100%. And she, we didn't even have to have a tragic backstory to her or anything of the story. Like, just part of her narration where she says, "I've been poor, and it does not suit me. It doesn't agree with me." So you can definitely tell that she's been through something. She's not like she was born into wealth, which is also why that she is so much of a savage predator, and she even is a self-proclaimed lioness. And she is very Wolf of Wall Street. She really thinks that she's living this Wolf of Wall Street fantasy, but not doing a whole scheme like Jordan Belfort. She's trying to keep everything above board, and that's what really drives her ego, is that not only am I scamming all of these people, this is totally legal. Like, I'm clean, baby. Like, that's what really drives her ego and her greed, is that the system is built to screw over poor people or people who are older and they want to take advantage of. And just, instead of becoming the prey, she decided to move forward and go as a predator. So yeah, it's really interesting to see how we don't get as much Peter Dinklage as one would expect, but I think it was appropriate, because it's not a Peter Dinklage flick, it's a Rosammund Pike flick. And I really, really like how they play off of each other, because they're only in, one or two scenes together throughout the whole movie, which is very interesting. And it doesn't feel, I don't know if you felt this way, it doesn't feel like a cop-out or anything. It doesn't feel like we were cheated of any scenes with them together. Everything felt really balanced, and it played through very organically. Because having them interact more, being that they were basically like the nemesis, they were each other's nemesis throughout the whole film. Everything was done very much at a distance. It felt like a chess game. I saw the Queen's Gambit.
Yeah.
I saw the Queen's Gambit, I know.
It felt very natural.
Yeah, it was very natural. It was very much a strategy game between the two. Her end being, she was kind of a brat about it, as to be expected. She's like, "Oh, you didn't play by the rules." What rules? And her perception of playing by the rules is using the law. So she used the law to her advantage, to make this super powerful, wealthy mafia gangster character under her control. And she eventually, like, you think she has basically been beaten by the halfway, 30 quarters through the movie. She loses. And what's really, really interesting is that she gets right back up and is out for blood. And because, at that point she has nothing else to lose. And I love how it didn't feel like a Joker moment. They didn't turn her into the Joker. She didn't have like, I'm going to become the Joker and go full sociopath, quote unquote.
Yeah.
But it's definitely an homage to her self-proclaimed title of I'm a fucking lioness. And she definitely comes through.
She was always there.
Exactly. She was always there, and she definitely, she was knocked down and she crawled right back up, and surprisingly was successful. Like, I did not think that she was going to be successful in her endeavor. When she effectively was able to become her Nemesis legal guardian, which is hilarious in and of itself. Evil, but hilarious, because, dude has no identity, he's not on paper, he's a John Doe, and she just totally turned his life upside down and could have very easily overpowered him and taken everything away from him. But she always had like this, like code amongst criminals sort of a deal. There's a code. So she always had like this, thieves honor or something about her. And she just, once again, told him, you can just pay me off. I don't care. I'm just here for the money. I'm not here for some vengeance or anything. She does care. She has people she cares about. She does care a lot, which is the irony. She just cares a lot about money and her partner, her girlfriend.
Yeah.
Which, to say that she is just like this crazy bitch is so superficial. It's so one-dimensional.
Yeah. There's more to her, and maybe this will make me sound crazy, but I liked her character. Of course, that doesn't mean that I have to like her as a person, because she's a horrible person. But when it comes down to character itself, I think she was very well written, and if she hadn't been, the movie would have not worked. Because she has her wants, she has her needs, and then she has this specific personality, and she's very dead set in her ways. But I just loved how smart and cunning she was, and how she could outsmart and outmaneuver anyone that came by her way. Especially the fact that she's able to get away with everything by being lawful. Which I found was so exquisite to witness, because it's horrible. But when you see her being able to outsmart all of these people, you kind of get like an adrenaline rush, wondering how far she's going to get. Because it's basically
impressive.
Because it's basically like Icarus. Eventually, you're going to burn. You're going to fall.
She did burn.
And boy did she burn, and boy did she fall.
Yeah, like, I really love how they could have easily gone the way of showing the ending and then showing us the rest of the movie and how we, catch up. That trope gets old. It does get old. So they could have easily
You're probably wondering how I...
You're probably wondering how I got here. Hi, I'm Marla Grayson, and my life is pretty crazy.
Because
so they could have done that. They could have done that. They didn't. Very happy they didn't. But yeah, that she has to face consequences, though. Like, from the beginning, you're like, she's gonna get what's coming to her, one way or another. And the way that you expect, definitely doesn't happen that way. Like, whatever expectations you have for this film, throw out like half of them, because it's gonna surprise you in either way. So yeah, her demise is not from flying too close to the sun in this case, because she got what she wanted. She became a multimillionaire. She teams up with the gangster that she became a legal guardian of, which I thought, who thinks of that, first of all? Second of all, just the dark irony and the humor in all of the situation really put balance into how serious the subject matter is. Because, there are people out there that really, truly, legally take over and control people's lives simply because they were vulnerable legally in that moment. And the amount of abuse that exists in the system, between, quote unquote predator and prey, is honestly just incredibly gross. It's just gross.
Mm-hmm.
And the way that they balance that so that you're not having a bad time watching this, it works really well, but it doesn't take away from the severity of the subject matter. It doesn't make light of it in any way, shape, or form. It definitely brings you back to earth and reminds you, this is a bad person. This is not a hero of the story. This is simply just one of many 1%ers that have gotten here. Like, she was definitely...
She's the hero. Yeah, she's the hero of her own story.
Exactly.
Which is usually
how
this... Yeah, which is usually how it goes for people in those situations. They see themselves as the savior of everything, but really it's just for their own gain. And for her, it was in her own financial gain. As well as, I like the fact that she did have something to care about other than her, which is maybe why I like her more as a character. Again, don't like her as a person. We're not getting mixed.
She's just an interesting, you know, everyone loves Joker, you know, we like her. We like her as a
but that's
character.
the thing. Like, at least these few days, I've seen that a lot of people don't like her as a character, which is totally understandable because she's a horrible person. But I think that if you're able to love, are there morally gray characters for being morally gray or just plain out evil? I think you are, like, I'm not going to say if it's because she's a woman, but, like, there is a certain element to it. Because at least for me personally, a lot of the times I sympathized with her because of the abuse she got from other men.
Oh, yeah, she definitely, you know, let us know early on that she was not about to be afraid of men ever again, which was not to her advantage at a certain point because, you know, she got very cocky about her safety. However, she did drive a point home. Like, you know, there were a lot, these guys threatening her were not the first ones. You know, she was just used to guys threatening her with empty promises or empty threats.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's definitely one of those characters that, you know, you love to hate them.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're villains. This is just, she is a villain, basically.
She is a villain. And just a lot of this film is basically, it's like an onion. Let's bring Shrek into this. Because not like it criticizes interactions between male, like men and women, and harassment and violence. It also dissects, it also dissects capitalism. It dissects the healthcare system. So there's a lot to take away from this film, which I think ties it up really nicely when you watch it.
Yeah, I really love how it's really hard for a film to touch on so many subjects and wanting to do so much, as we've seen before, and just crash and burn, trying to do everything. They really were able to not bite off more than they could chew. They touched a lot of bases without diving too deep into them. And it really worked to their advantage. So I really applaud
J Blakeson.
J Blakeson. I was gonna say Blakeson. I don't know why. J Blakeson, applaud. I really, really look forward to seeing more of his work in the future. I really like the vibe of this. The shots, there's an aesthetic to this film. The fashion design in it, the costume design for Rosammund Pike's character is phenomenal. It's like
okay, let's get into it.
This is like
I was gonna say
girl, but with funds.
Yeah, because what I was gonna say is that beyond the blinding lights and the pretty visuals, there is a lot of darkness to this, and I think that J Blakeson utilized the 118 minutes of this film very wisely, because sometimes films are long just for the sake of being long.
Exactly.
I love a good 90-minute flick. I don't know if I'm alone, but 90 minutes are wonderful for me. So sometimes when it gets to 2 hours, I get so picky about pacing. And with this one, unusually, as you mentioned, I wasn't as picky, mostly because I was so drawn to the intricate layers of this film. And
there's a lot to appreciate.
Yeah, because again, I just love the mixture, like I'm gonna bring this word back. The juxtaposition between light and dark. Yeah, we love when morally gray things. Yeah, let's be pretentious. We love when morally gray things are visually pleasing, but also like the content is just very disconcerting.
Yeah, it's one of those things, like you said, it balances itself out. It has so many layers without just being a mess. And it's just it's a sandwich. It's just a good sandwich of cinematic elements. And you know what has been a little bit popular on Twitter? Bisexual lighting. We even had a shot like that.
Yes. Again, blinding lights.
If I can,
visuals.
Wherever it is, wherever I'm pointing to, if I can get a still of that, I can really appreciate those scenes,
I'm just gonna shots. Listen, J Blakeson, please. I would love to know your inspiration for this film because it's just so visually pleasing. I was so in love with the cinematography of this film and getting again into costume designs. I love the color palettes and the color coordinations of this film because, I mean, Marla Grayson usually is dressed in very bright colors, which is so ironic because she's soulless.
She's never in black. Did you notice? She's never in like dark, like Maleficent colors. She's always in like this, bright candy wrapper of fashion, just to really put people off and put them at ease. She's always has like, this, she's always wearing a smile on her face, which is a little Joker like she's kind of like that real life sort of a lawyer Joker, that kind of a vibe. She's always smiling. She's always trying to, put her prey at ease, have them feel comfortable, always feel like really she's being very welcoming and just genuinely concerned for the well-being of her wards. So yeah, the movie is just, it loves to twist ironies left and right throughout the film, and it does them very well. And the costume design, fantastic. And for such a visually pleasing movie that doesn't utilize the female characters as objects in any moment, which is, if you have a man directing a film about two lesbians, it could go downhill really fast because it's like, oh, we're gonna have a really exaggerated sex scene, we can have lots of nudity and just pretend that's how women are in real life, and you can tell that he did none of that, absolutely none of it. Super respectful. In my opinion, you don't even see nudity. There is a quote unquote sex scene, but it's nothing major. It's very natural, and it really actually helps develop the intimacy between Marla Grayson and her love interest. I forgot her name, Fran. So between Marla and Fran, we also had in the background a really lovely romance, even though they're both bad guys. It kind of gave me, Harley Quinn, Poison Ivy vibes at the same time. So yeah, Marla Grayson was definitely a more calculated Harley Quinn, but chaotic nonetheless. She was just very surgical about her chaos and her drive for greed. Whereas she had her romantic partner, Fran, be a bit more balanced, definitely on the same page of getting money, but her survival instincts kicked in way before Marla's. because Marla went in and I'm like, has this girl ever seen like a gangster movie? Like, she's gonna die. Like, at every point you think this is,
but she was also
she's
like,
go back to her house.
Yeah, she wasn't afraid of dying.
Yeah, that was also really like a cool tidbit about her. We think that she's being dumb by just going in and not guns blazing, but just doing whatever and feeling way too comfortable for her situation, until we found out that she doesn't really fear death. She was just doing her thing, come what may. And that was the death of her, essentially. And the only thing that ever perhaps gave her some sort of hesitance was her partner. That's when she started taking it a little bit more seriously. Not that she ever thought the situation was completely nothing, though she underestimated it. She knew that as soon as she saw her partner in danger, you know, she has to nip this in the bud. And that also comes back to her almost drowning, that whole underwater scene focused on her trying to survive using her very last breath to get what she wants.
That's my favorite. That's my
Cinema.
favorite shot.
It was very much, it gave me the same vibe of that scene in Kajillionaire where they thought they were dead.
Yes.
It was just haunting. It was so good, though. It was so visually haunting. And
yeah, because
honestly,
I just remember thinking to myself, I hate this woman. She should die.
But not like
But
this.
I want her to live.
Yeah, because, you know, she almost dies multiple times, and I'm like, she deserves this, but, like, she still has something left to do. There's still so much to do, and I really want to see where her journey takes her.
Yeah, which is why I like that the moment that she does, quote-unquote, die, it's a full circle moment. It's a full circle moment, bringing back something that was external to the situation of the entire plot, which was the ward and the gangsters and like the mafia. I like that it was something external from that, which is what we saw from the beginning. And it also drives home again the aspect of violence against women, like gender violence. And even though it was sad, his situation, just the means that he took to get justice were very extreme. But at the same time, like, that was the perfect way to end it.
Yes, because, spoiler, the first victims that of hers that we see from the very beginning eventually comes full circle and shoots her. And that's how she dies. Something very simple. He just walks up to her and shoots her in the chest. And it was poetic in a way because so much time had already passed, because we do have a time skip. We don't know how long, but we'll say it was a few years. And this guy, his mother, the ward that she had, she eventually dies in the care facility, and he was never allowed to see her, and that ultimately drove him to kill her, which, you know, totally deserved. It also, again, was one of those, you know, not icebreaker moments, but, you know, a cold splash of water bringing us back to reality that, yeah, she may have achieved unsurmountable, like, momentous success for that moment, because she does team up with the gangster, start a whole corporation, and capitalize on legal guardians and wards and all this, the whole system. And she gains the system to such a multinational level, which is, you know, the quote unquote beauties of the free market. You can pull yourself up by your bootstraps. Your whole point of, you know, being a business person is eliminating all the competition and just basically becoming king of the market. That's their whole purpose. And it really goes to show how you cannot have everyone just be the biggest shark around in the market or in anything, just amassing all of this wealth. And not especially a company, because healthcare companies and like the industry is so shady, and there's so many moral and ethical gray areas, more black than gray, but gray nonetheless. And to see how easily someone could get into this and just essentially steal people's livelihoods legally for a living. She became a multi-millionaire, billionaire, whatever, based off of all of these people, all these old people, and everything else. It's just, yeah, eat the rich. It's definitely that kind of an ending, which is not what I expected, believe it or not. I thought it was going to be a little bit more focused on her as a character, but it was very much a dark reality that we live in with capitalism, essentially. So, yeah. she definitely got what she deserved.
Yeah.
Good for her, but she got what she deserved.
Yeah, because again, the thing about the good for her universe is that usually it's a woman getting away with a crime or committing murder, and they're not necessarily supposed to be good people or people that we root for. They're just women.
They're just fun characters.
Yeah, they're just women getting what they want by any means necessary.
Yeah, and you know, it's not good for her, like, because sometimes it is the woman, like, committing crimes.
Yeah,
but
it's
they're,
not
like,
girl power.
It's not girl power. This movie definitely spins the girl boss narrative on its head. I love that. It's like, oh my god, she's actually an inspiration because she's a woman. Like, no, honey, she's still, you know, exploiting labor. She's still stealing money. She's still a Jeff Bezos. Just because she's a woman does not make her any better. But sure, you know, I really like how they just kind of spat in the face of the girl boss narrative in today's day and age. And yeah, once again, this movie is very multifaceted. You know, it's got layers. It has a lot to appreciate, and just all around the board, I can't really complain about it. There's not much to critique, and I know it seems like every movie or everything we talk about here, we're like, we love it, just go watch it. But it's just genuinely, I can't.
Yeah. We want to talk about stuff that we love.
Exactly. It's just so much easier to talk about things that you actually like. You know, I'm sure there's going to be very few moments where we're going to not recommend a movie we talk about, because film is, you know, whether you want it to or not, it's incredibly subjective. You could have been one of the people that didn't like this movie, and that's okay. Yeah. And there's no need to get on anyone's case about them liking it at all, and that applies to film in general. But yeah, for sure, subjectively and objectively, it's definitely an entertaining movie. You're not going to be bored. I wouldn't think, you know, very few people could be bored with this, because it does, you know, keep it, it keeps a good pacing. It keeps you on edge. It keeps you entertained and engaged with the story. And it's definitely funny. Like, you know, you will laugh and you will gasp with this. It's definitely an emotional roller coaster. So I think that wraps things up pretty nicely. Definitely check it out. If you have Netflix and are looking for something to watch, check out I Care a Lot. It's fun, it's dark, and it definitely is a thriller. So dark comedy thriller is a very accurate description for this movie. Yeah, so we're gonna... Oh no, before we say goodbye and do our little outro, we would like to give a shout out to Nomadland, which also released on Hulu yesterday. Yes. So we really got blessed with cinema this week. I have yet to see it, but Josie, did you write a review for it for Sundance?
No. I got to see it earlier or through a special screening that I was invited to. And I got to rewatch it again the other day. And well, now it's on Hulu, and I really recommend it. If you like Inside Llewyn Davis, I would say it's very much along those lines. It is very much a slow burn, so it's more of a character-driven story than a plot-driven story. So have that in mind, because some people might not like the pacing, or because not a lot happens. It's just vibes. It's one of those films. So just keep that in mind, because it's just vibes, man. Yeah. Sometimes it's just vibes, and it's very beautiful, and the message is very calming and beautiful. And again, I love using that word because it perfectly encompasses what this film is. So highly recommend it. Definitely the opposite of I Care a Lot. Yeah.
So if you want to de-stress, calm down from I Care a Lot, double feature I Care a Lot and Nomadland this weekend.
Yes. And again, it's on Hulu.
It's on Hulu. So if you have a Hulu account or know someone who does, and it's just kind of there gathering dust, go take advantage, check it out. So where can they find you, Josie Melendez?
You can find me as @theJosieMarie pretty much everywhere.
Yeah, and you know, of course, everything will be linked below. You can find me at the Captain Melendez everywhere as well. So once again, thank you guys for watching. Let us know in the comments, have you seen this movie? if you haven't, come back, watch it, come back, let us know what you thought of it, because I really like to see what other people think, if they agree or don't agree, or if you want to chat with us on Twitter or whatever you wish. Obviously, stay respectful. We're here to talk about things we love and be respectful for things that we don't so much love, as always. So be sure to subscribe to Full Circle Cinema here on YouTube. We post Film Talk every other Monday, so stay tuned for that. What else? Be sure to also be a reader and a follower of Full Circle Cinema on Twitter, and check out our news, reviews, and everything in between on fullcirclecinema.com. We have wonderful critics and wonderful news writers that are very diligently putting out amazing content every day, over on fullcirclecinema.com. So if you love fun feature pieces, staying up to date with pop culture news, and rumors and all of that, definitely follow at Full Circle Cine on twitter.com. And everything else will be linked down below. I hope y'all enjoyed, and we'll see you next time.
Bye.